All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are going to unpack the fascinating, sometimes weird, and always wonderful science of why we do the things we do. We're basically going inside the human mind to try and find the user manual. You ready?
It's a question we've all asked ourselves, right? Why did I just say that out loud? Or why is it that I'd rather curl up with a book on a Friday night, but my best friend needs to be in the middle of a crowded party? These kinds of questions, they're the absolute heart of psychology. It's the key to figuring ourselves out and, well, everyone around us too.
Okay, so first things first, to make sure we're all on the same page, let's establish a clear foundation. What are we actually talking about when we use the word psychology?
At its core, psychology is the scientific study of the mind and our behavior. And I really want to emphasize that word scientific. This isn't about reading minds or looking into a crystal ball. Nope, it's a serious science that systematically explores our inner world, our thoughts, our feelings, and then connects the dots to our actions out in the real world.
And psychology is definitely not just one thing. Think of it like a huge tree with many branches. You've got clinical psychology, which focuses on mental health. Then there's cognitive psychology, which dives into how we think, learn, and remember stuff. And you have social psychology, which looks at how we all influence each other. Each one gives us a totally unique window into what makes us tick.
Now that we've got the basics down, let's pop the hood and take a look inside. We're about to go on a super quick tour of that incredible piece of machinery that is your mind.
A great way to think about your mind is like an iceberg. That small tip you can see sticking out of the water, well, that's your conscious mind. It's whatever you're thinking about right now. But the huge, massive part hidden below the surface, that's your subconscious. And believe me, it is running the show behind the scenes, driving your habits, your gut feelings, and all those automatic reactions you don't even have to think about.
So how does your mind actually get around? Well, it uses a few key tools. Your thoughts are that constant inner voice. Your memory is like your brain's gigantic personal library. And your attention? That's the spotlight you use to focus on what's important. Put them all together, and that's what creates your unique experience of reality.
All right, let's get a little more personal. How is your mind wired? This is all about understanding your own personal operating system. And we're going to start with one of the most famous parts of personality.
So, the whole introvert versus extrovert thing, it's not really about being shy or being loud. It all comes down to one thing: energy. Introverts, they recharge their batteries by spending time alone. Extroverts, on the other hand, get their energy from being around other people. Simple as that. One isn't better than the other, of course. They're just two different ways of moving through the world. So where do you think you fall on that spectrum?
But, personality is way more complicated than just one line. Psychologists often use a model called the Big Five. Think of these 5 things: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism as kind of like a mixing board for your personality. So if you're high on openness, you might be super adventurous and creative. High on conscientiousness, you're probably the reliable friend who always has a plan. It's a really powerful tool for getting to know yourself.
Okay, we've spent some time looking inside the mind, but here's the thing. None of us live in a bubble. So let's zoom out for a second and see how the world outside of us shapes the world inside of us.
Our social world is, well, it's incredibly powerful. Social influence is the big, broad term for how our culture and society molds us. But it gets more specific, right? You've got peer pressure, that feeling of needing to fit in with your friends, and then there's conformity, which is our natural, sometimes totally unconscious habit of just going along with the group, sometimes even when we know better.
Now, with a field as popular as psychology, a lot of myths start to float around. So let's play a little game of Mythbusters and separate the real psychology from the stuff you just see in movies.
Let's kick it off with a huge one. I'm sure you've heard this a million times. The idea that we have all this untapped potential. Like 90% of our brain is just sitting there, collecting dust. But is there any truth to that?
Nope, not a chance. Not even close. It is a complete and total myth. Probably one of the most stubborn myths in all of pop psychology, actually.
So here's the real deal. Modern brain scans show us very clearly that we use pretty much every single part of our brain. We just use different parts for different tasks at different times. Think about it. Your brain is an incredibly efficient organ. It would make zero sense for evolution to let 90% of its power just go to waste. The good news is you're already using all of it.
And busting myths like this isn't just for fun trivia. It's about clearing out all the junk science so we can focus on what psychology actually tells us about taking care of our minds.
This is where it gets really practical. It's about building a toolkit of healthy habits for your mind, just like you would for your body at the gym.
So, what do you do with all this information? How can you actually use everything we've just talked about? Well, one of the most powerful ways is through storytelling.
Seriously, understanding psychology is like a storyteller's secret weapon. You can use frameworks like the Big Five to build characters that feel real and believable. You can create amazing drama just by showing how those characters deal with social pressures like conformity. And you can grab any audience by tapping into those universal emotions, joy, fear, love, that connect every single one of us.
And really, that's what this all boils down to. Learning about psychology isn't just for scientists or therapists. It's for anyone who wants to understand themselves a little bit better and maybe connect more deeply with the people in their life. It really is like finally getting your hands on the user manual for the human mind.
So that was our whirlwind tour of psychology. But the real journey, the really interesting part, it starts right now, for you. And I'll leave you with this one question to get you started. What's the first thing you're going to explore about that amazing, complicated, and incredible mind of yours? Thanks for joining me.